Welcome back to another episode of Counterpoint. Deke, how are you today? What's new with you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's summertime in San Francisco, which means it's 62 degrees and foggy.
Yeah,
Our summer is September, October. I realize the rest of the country is sweltering right now.
Rub it in.
So they're all turning their dials to have the weather that we have here. All we have to do is go east a very short distance, and all of a sudden we're hit by the sunshine. But yes, typical sunshineless summer here out in the fog belt, right near the ocean beach. But life is good. Life is good. Tons of touring, and glad to finally have some time at home in August
to decompress.
How about you?
Yeah. Do you have I don't know if you have the sort of like end of summer school arranging rush still in your life? I think you're more on the road these days, I think. So you might not have that in your life as much.
It isn't as much, but I've had that ever since before I graduated in 91. I'd say since like 89, I've had that in my life. It's just like August is arranging month. That's what we do. But you can do it at home and set your own hours and all that, which is a beautiful thing.
And the nice cool air conditioning.
How about you, Rob? You're neck deep in a number of commissions, right?
And I had a moment. There's always that moment, I think, at the beginning of the school year as you start to get into it, where I'm like, am I gonna work this year? Like, there's always that little lull before the school year hits, and it's like, oh, okay, no, it's gonna be very busy. So I'm starting.
Everyone orders right before they need it. They're like, we need a new set, and is it possible for you to get it by 9 p.m. tonight? You're like, wait, what?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, but yeah, always grateful for the work, but yeah, definitely ramping up into that fall rush. So that's what's up right now. But speaking of back to school, perfect segue. We have a fantastic panel of music educators today to talk about all things middle and high school a cappella. These are truly some of my favorite people in the choral music education space, and I'm so excited to just like bring these folks together to have a chat. I'm going to mostly let them introduce themselves, but I'm just going to go down the list on my screen from top to bottom. We have J.D. Frizzell from Briarcrest Christian School in Memphis, Tennessee. We have Kelsey Burkett from Hilliard Bradley Memorial Middle School in Columbus, Ohio. I almost forgot the memorial. That was what I had to remember. And Cindy Ellis from Miami Art Studio down in Miami, Florida. So I'm going to let these folks talk a little bit about their own bios, because I could literally sit here for the entire hour and just tell you all about the amazing things that they've done, but I will let you hear it in their own words. Why don't let's go bottom to top. Let's start with Cindy. Cindy, let's tell us a little bit about where you are, who you are, where you're from, what you did. As long as you love me, go for it.
Nice. I really am bummed that I don't get to go to the Backstreet Boys tour or whatever they're doing in Las Vegas. I keep seeing videos, but yes, As Long As You Love Me has been playing recently. I am Cindy Ellis. I was born in Cuba, and I came to the United States 20 years ago in 2005, and I moved to Miami with my siblings. And initially I danced in Cuba. I did not. There's very serious musicians on that island, but I was a dancer. And when I moved here, I could not afford the dance costumes and lessons and the dancing world of this country. So I started singing, because singing is free. So I get actually some people sometimes compliment my conducting and say that it reminds them of a dancer. So I think I always thank my mom for my dance lessons growing up in Cuba. And then I joined choir in high school, thinking it was gonna be solo. I'm gonna sing Christina Aguilera songs, but it wasn't. And I love the trips, and I love singing with my friends. So then, at the end of high school, I very last minute decided to be a music ed major, and ended up loving it. I have 2 degrees in it at the moment, and I think I met you, like Rob, 10 years ago at the Betsy a cappella festival, and it just changed the way I heard my students. I performed with my students. I'm really proud, and I still think, there's a lot more growth, but I'm just so proud of my students and the work we do. I really thank you for having me, because I really believe that a cappella music, everything can be sung a cappella, which is a beautiful thing. And I'm a believer that the kids really finally know the music, no matter the genre or style, when they can sing it a cappella. So
I love
Thank
that. And you had a really wonderful performance. I think a lot of the folks that are listening maybe saw you at ACDA National with your group this past, what was it, March when we were there, Dallas?
Yes.
March.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful performance, and one of the things that really moved me about it was just the fusion of pop and traditional choral stuff. Your set was just so varied. Like it really got kind of emotional about it because I think it's really, in many ways, kind of summarized what a lot of us in the contemporary a cappella world have been pushing in that choral space for so long. This is just the power of that music, and not just the power of it to reach students, but also the power of it to bring out new types of musicianship and engage audiences differently and do all that stuff. So I think Kelsey, saw that set as well, and I think we were all just really moved by that, the power of that. So congratulations again. I'm sure you've been congratulated a million times, and very well deserved.
As you noticed, I'm sure the whole set, and that was kind of what I was trying to not prove, but just to showcase how you can really do every single style with your students. And I kept that all a cappella, which was very, very fun to rehearse and just showcase the power of their voices.
Sorry, a little blip from a guest there. Amazing. Kelsey, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey Burkett. As Rob said, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Hilliard's actually the first suburb you hit when you come out of the west side of Columbus. And we have a 7 through 12 a cappella program called Jaguar A Cappella. One group here at the middle school called Blue Notes, and then 3 groups at the high school. Wave, which is an all treble a cappella group. Echo, which is a mixed kind of JV level a cappella group, and then Shades of Blue, which is our premier a cappella group. We've been building this program since about 2015, and then post-COVID has been very good to us. In 23, Shades was the ICHSA champion, and then this past spring in 2025, they were the ICHSA runner-up. So it has been really cool watching the growth of this program. Rob, I'm a little mad at you because you didn't tell me who all was going to be on this podcast when you asked me to come. No. Oh. And so the graphic went up, and my wife is on here. She's laughing at this because I screamed in my house because you all are my heroes. Like I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to be on this podcast with these people. Like, thank you so much. So, feeling a little imposter syndrome right now. But
I didn't want you to be nervous. I just wanted you to come in, relax. Like, that was, I was looking out for you.
You didn't tell me. I thought it was just gonna be me. So, but no, thank you for inviting me. And yeah, so this will be my 20th year of teaching, which is crazy because it feels like a blink of an eye. And I'm not that old. At least I keep telling myself that. But I grew up in the show choir world and like competitive show choir. Finally just had my 25th show choir reunion this past weekend, which, it's really funny to go do that. But a cappella was a foreign thing to me. I think my first introduction to the a cappella world was through the Ben Folds college a cappella album. And I just loved hearing like all these amazing arrangements. And so it's something I definitely became addicted to. And then Jeremy Witt, who's the head of our program here in Hilliard, comes from a huge a cappella background and really believed in this art form. And so I've been following his lead and learning about this, and it's just been really beautiful to see these kids become a part of something that's so much bigger than themselves and create something really special. So we're proud of our little program here in Hilliard.
That's so cool. And you and I know each other also from being co-chairs for the Repertoire and Resources Board for ACDA too. That was where we got to
we did that, and then Rob's been arranging for our groups for pretty much since the beginning too. So. Thanks, Rob.
That's great, you guys. And sorry I didn't tell you who else was on the panel, but it's okay.
I'm fine now. I had like 5 days to get my life together.
And last but certainly not least, JD, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. I let's see, I think like all of you, I started just in normal music ed, choral background. I didn't do any a cappella growing up. I didn't even join choir until sophomore year of high school when my friends told me that there were a lot of girls in there and then I should go. Fast forward to my first teaching job here at Briarcrest 18 years ago, and I was trying to find something that would excite kids at a private school who have a lot of things, and there's a lot of stuff to say yes to, and I needed something that was like a little more exciting and something a little more resonant with the audience. And we tried a few other things. We tried with vocal jazz and some other stuff. And then we sang this chart by this guy named Rob Dietz. He was like young at the time. And it was...
I'm still young. Come on.
Yeah. You keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, okay.
And
Things
we
hurt
did.
now.
It was your "She Will Be Loved." It was the book. It was in your series.
Both of ours. Yeah, me and Deke. Yeah.
You and Deke did together, and so that's kind of a cool little connection. And we sang it at a gym assembly, and everyone went absolutely bonkers. We'd never done anything like it. And so then we started like a pops concert at my school, and we realized popular music is an amazing way to connect not only with your singers and recruit new singers, but also with their parents and friends and neighbors. So I ended up co-founding the Acapella Education Association and founded the National Acapella Convention, and co-authored a couple books with my friend Deke Sharon here, started this thing called Next Level, which is like acapella mentorship. I worked with the Hilliard Bradley high school groups and Jeremy in that. I'm very, very excited and proud of the work that they've done. They have an amazing program there. And I now do a lot of a cappella stuff. I direct a group called One Voice, and we try to make really great music. And
quite successfully, I would say.
Yeah, we have worked with Rob for quite some time as our primary arranger. And so it's been fun to kind of shape the sound of One Voice alongside somebody like Rob, who's not only amazing at a cappella, but I feel like we've kind of grown up together, Rob, which is kind of fun, and we've become really good friends. And Deke, he and I have collaborated on a number of things besides the books. He's come to a bunch of the conventions. We've worked at a bunch of festivals together. I've stayed at your house, actually, back when you did that Soup to Nuts. Learned a lot from you there. So just thrilled to be a part of it and excited to see what a cappella can do for young people and just empowering them to express themselves and find a medium that gives them a lot of meaning.
Amen. And that's why we're having this podcast. That's why we're doing this. We're bringing the three of you together with different perspectives, different backgrounds, whatever, to talk about now, post-COVID, 2025, the power of contemporary a cappella, why, how, etc.
What, where, when, all of the important questions.
When is now?
Where is now? Here? Where is here? And you're in the right place. Yeah, I think
how
the takeaway
is whatever they say.
Yeah,
exactly.
for anybody listening, I think the takeaway here is that this is a very small community and a really wonderful community, and it's great to just like be able to get folks together to chat. So, with that said, anybody who's here watching, feel free to drop any questions for this panel in the chat. We'll get to them at some point during the conversation or at the end, at the very latest. But I think this is a great group of folks, and we can kind of talk about a lot of different things. I'm sure we could talk for hours and hours. Deke had a question that I thought was a very interesting place to start, which I think will be a good sort of way to get the conversation going, which is, what do you all think separates a good a cappella program at your school from a great a cappella program at your school? What are the things that groups can do to just like get over that divide from just like, hey, we're kind of doing this thing, to like, hey, we're doing this thing at a top level? And let's start with Kelsey. What do you think, Kelsey?
Buy-in is such a tricky thing to do with young people, especially these Gen Zers. Man, they want that instant gratification of success, and they want that feedback. So I think, for us, it's been interesting because we've had, a great amount of success in these last 3 to 5 years, but this has been a 10-year journey to get to this point. And I really think our middle school start has been so great because those kids work together from the start of the year. So we do a week-long camp in the summer. That's all 4 of our groups. And, it's so funny. These little incoming 7th graders are really just like the end of their 6th grade year. They're very tiny in stature and they're very scared. And then they're with these incoming seniors that have been doing this for 6 years. And it's beautiful watching the seniors and the juniors and the upperclassmen take the younger kids under their wing. And throughout the year, you see it with all the groups, how they grow. But I think those kids seeing like, oh, wow, that soloist, I remember when they were a soloist back in, that 8th grade thing I saw. And so they can see themselves in the future. And so having that start cohesiveness from the beginning is so important. I also think too that we can go into arranging stuff later, but finding arrangements that are accessible to kids that give them that satisfaction early on, and then they get that feedback from their parents and audience members that they really liked what they're doing. And that's something I struggled with early on with our middle school group, is there was not a lot available stock wise for that particular voicing. And so I was kind of buying stuff and trying to like make it work with their voices. So I know we're very blessed and privileged to be able to afford custom arrangements, but getting those customized arrangements to that specific voicing has been a huge thing for us.
And I've been bugging Hal Leonard for the past decade. We need more 3-part SSA, SAB,
Yes.
high B. It's really SAT.
Yeah, I don't even think the SAB stuff is really great.
No, it's got to be.
And Rob will tell you, sorry to anyone that does SAB. No. Yeah. But
there's good stuff out there.
There is. You have to search for it. But I have really found SSA and SSAA for middle school has been such a sweet spot in their ranges. So yeah. Arrangers out there, come on, arrange for those younger groups. We need
Mr.
you.
Leonard, if you're listening, more. Or
I'm on a first name basis with him. Hal.
With Hal,
dude. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Get it together.
Hal, we gotta chat.
Kelsey, one of the things you said that I really want to underscore, because you talked about it, but I want to draw a big line underneath it, is that sense of family. You're absolutely right. There is this immediate gratification and this serotonin and dopamine hit that comes from scrolling social media and all of the constant little rewards you get when you're playing video games or whatever. And that's not how music works. That's not how arts are built.
Okay.
Like it requires an investment of time to become good and get better at your voice and whatever. And I think you're dead on the money. The fact that your program starts with middle schoolers, it goes 7 through 12, and there's a sense of multi-generational connection that frankly I had when I sang in college with the Tufts Beelzebubs. There's an alumni association that's very strong, and you have the sense of people all the way back to the people who were the oldest people who did it, and not just the seniors, but all the way through. That sense of family, that sense of community, and the desire to impress and learn from the people who are older than you is one of the most powerful things that we can do for young people to get that sense of buy-in, so that they see themselves in a program that's 4 years, 6 years long, rather than just like, okay, well, what's going to happen this semester? Where's my solo?
Yeah, and I think, well, in middle school too, we're a really lucky district. We have so many extracurriculars and sports that kids could get involved in. And middle school is very much that find what your thing is. And so it's nice to be able to hook them early so that when they are going into high school, I think it gives them a sense of safety too, because it's scary going into the high school, even though it's right across the street, it's double the size of their middle school. And so the fact that they're able to walk in on that first day of school and they've got 60 built-in friends that they already made is priceless.
I'm going to tag Cindy in on this one, because I know you have a middle school, you have a younger program as well. I've seen some clips of. What do you do? How do you engage those younger singers? And how do you see that kind of feed your program?
Yes, I am very blessed to teach at a performing arts magnet. It's a public school, but the kids audition when they're 10 years old in 5th grade. And as good as an audition can be at 10 years old, they sing happy birthday and it's like, welcome, you love to sing. But it's a blessing to be able to teach my students, to see them 90 minutes a day for 7 years. They are with me. So they're locked in.
Wow.
I use the middle school years as a lot of foundations are built from those middle school years, where we're working on a lot of, the theory, and I do melodic dictation every day because I have the 90 minutes, I can really use my time to build their musicianship skills so strong that by the time they get to freshman is really like a senior almost in a high school. So, for example, today school starts tomorrow, like I mentioned earlier, and my principal had an event at school, and he says, "Hey, can SoFlo, my a cappella group in the high school that was called SoFlo Harmony?" He says, "Can SoFlo sing a song, for our guests?" And I say, "Of course, school hasn't started, but my kids, they can pull through at any moment." So of course I haven't seen them. Not only have I not seen them, but it's a new group. I graduated. I have 11 members, and half of them graduated last year. So I have a bunch of underclassmen in there that I've never heard in this formation. And I said, "Kids, like 10, 15 days ago, here's a song. Coldplay is trending, nowadays. So here's a Coldplay tune. Let's see how it goes." And I hadn't heard them in this formation. And I showed up, and I was so shocked that they sounded so beautiful. They had never sung together. And I really think that the middle school, that's my blessing, that I can really prepare them in middle schools. And I think your question was about what separates the good a cappella group from the great a cappella group. I think that what Deke was mentioning about family is extremely important. Even though my kids hadn't sung together, they knew each other. Those middle school kids have been looking forward to having the opportunity to work with the upperclassmen. They're inspired by them. I always tell my upperclassmen, you may not like it, but people are looking up to you, and you have to lead. You have to lead. You have to sing with that intention that the little kids are watching. And in real life, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can get the gig. Like there's teenagers on Broadway. There's, it doesn't matter. You can get the gig. So I really inspire my middle schoolers to reach for the stars and to sing to inspire. And the other thing I was going to say was I really, really value reflection and having them listen back to rehearsal videos and give each other feedback to the point where, since I see them every day, they're calling each other out. I don't even have to say much in that a cappella class. They're calling each other out for intonation problems. They're calling each other out for rhythmic problems. They're keeping each other accountable for not learning a part. Everybody showed up today without me ever teaching a singular thing, a singular note of that song, because of the skills that I really prioritize in middle school. And it's possible to do it also, of course, if you have only a high school program, but it's really prioritizing that incoming class and making sure the young students are inspired to reach for something, and want to join and be a part of something great, so that they can reach for that greatness no matter where they go in life.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we kind of lost during COVID too. I think that's something you talk to a lot of teachers about, just like the community that was lost and the prep that was lost. And I think like a lot of folks that I'm talking to are just starting to now get that back with some of these, middle schoolers that were in elementary school during COVID, now entering middle school, they're having that in-person experience and they're being able to kind of build that back up. So yeah, it really is amazing the way that impacts the whole chain of learning.
That's huge. I've heard it was like a 50% attrition rate. And so for people, not only do they have like a blip of young singers who like lost a couple of years of in-person singing or whatever, but also the number of people in the program really shrank, and building that up is a big piece of it. Something I heard you specifically say, Cindy and Kelsey, together, is that something that your singers do when they join your groups is they identify as being a singer. Now, you go back before recorded music, everybody sang. It was a part of human culture. It was just like, I walk, I talk, I sing, whatever. But now in culture, it's becoming more apparent to me that people either see themselves as being singers or not. And that age that you're talking about, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, if we can get them to identify as like, I'm a singer, I've chosen that this is going to be a thing that I do and do well, then they're on the train tracks to a really good place. So I'm just mentioning that out loud because I'm reading between the lines of what you're both saying as educators and trying to find like, what's that magic formula so that we can really change society back to the healthier place where everybody sang.
Yeah. I see a question from Caitlin Dietz in the comments. No relation. We're not related.
Yeah, whatever.
We're really not. But she also lives in LA, which is crazy. Speaking of letting your students give their peers feedback, do you have any guide that you give to that process? So any ways to help them give feedback in a constructive way? I think that's actually great for what you're talking about, and also groups that are self-run. How do you train kids to give good feedback and lift each other up and help each other in a constructive way, rather than having that be something that can be very contentious? Anybody want to jump on that one? Cindy?
My latest favorite tool is YouTube, which the kids are very, very familiar with. I will record a rehearsal or a run through of a song and post it unlisted and send it to them and say, leave me some comments. And I want timestamps, and I want what's wrong, and I want why you're commenting, specifically. And they can call each other out. You don't have to be like this specific, but sometimes I just say, let's listen to the altos and tell me what they can do better. Or I'll say, let's listen to the bass and the beatbox, or let's listen to, or let's just watch. Sometimes I post it muted. This is actually a little bit crazy as well, but I just will remove the sound myself to force them to watch it muted and say, comment on what you can improve on your expression or movement, and who's off or who's doing a great job. Compliment each other and give me the timestamps. And I think that respect that they build online in something that they're very familiar with, which is typing on a device, really builds the confidence to then we show up the next day, and that's when they can speak. They'll run through something and be comfortable enough because they did it online to say to each other, hey, you're off here. Hey, did you read that comment? I already called you out on this. Why are you doing it again? You didn't do your homework. So I love YouTube. It's my latest obsession.
That's super cool. Yeah, I think that the removing the immediacy too of like the potential negativity is really powerful. So it's not just like something that they're like getting in the moment and have to process and react to. That's great. Yeah, I think for the group that I direct here in LA, the Academy Choir LA, like whenever the kids sing for each other, I have them do the positive feedback, and then I do the not so plus feedback, the plus feedback, and the not so plus feedback, and the directors, me and my co-directors, do the not so plus feedback. And I think that that's a good way to kind of model that, and B, is I would call it pump up your mates. That's what we call it in the Acapella Academy community. Pump up your mates. Just give them the compliments, and let the good stuff come from them first. JD, same question. What do you think? Ways to let kids give each other feedback, and also ways to help kids, because you do a lot of like independent, part sending in, I know, stuff like that. Ways to help kids receive feedback better, I think, is also a good part of this.
Sure. And Cindy, I love that what you were talking about, like removing the immediacy is great. Separating their ego and their worth from the criticism is huge. So you have to first validate their humanity and their worth. And that's so important. I've found that if students know you care about them, you can challenge them to do just about anything. So we do a retreat at the beginning of the year, similar to what Kelsey was saying. And that's a lot of the goal, is just to make sure that they create that bond together, and to make sure that they know also for me that I care about them and who they are or whatever. I do the similar feedback to Rob when we're pitching songs, which is one of my like separating good and great a cappella groups, is reverse engineering your song choices from solo pitches. Because instead of just picking a chart you like or a song you like and then arranging it and then picking a solo, you start by pitching just like American Idol style, and they pitch in front of each other dozens and dozens of times, and we create a really safe, comfortable environment for them to do that. And then, of course, I teach them how to give good musical feedback. And musical feedback, just like Cindy was saying, it's not personal. Musical feedback is specific. It's actionable. And so I will do the positive, or I'll do the negative feedback. They'll do the positive feedback. And they do this in front of each other, especially the first month of school when we're trying to like put our set together for the year. They're doing this every single day. We use Slack, like a communications tool, and they're sending me ideas and each other ideas all the time. Hey, I think this would be great for Rob. I think this song would be great for Cindy. It really fits her style or whatever. They do that for each other. And then once you have a successful song pitch, we've had 3 already. I told them, like, you're gonna know when a song is a yes because somebody sings and everyone feels it. It's an emotion. It's not something that your brain has to put together. You feel it and you know, like, yes, oh my gosh, that's a song we have to sing. What does that pitch have in it? Embedded in that pitch, you have the perfect key because I've already helped them, work through what's the best key for that soloist. If there's a restyling of it that we wanted to do, and some, anything to make it fully effective. And then I take that stem, send it to Rob or whoever's arranging it, and then they have all of this material to base the arrangement off of. And even if you aren't doing a custom arrangement, I think reverse engineering your song choice that way is great. Like, let's say you get a song choice and, it's Cher's Believe. And you're like, great, okay, let me go see what charts are out there. And then if you find a few charts that seem cool, then I know every arranger on the planet, not every, most will be like, please change the key, change the voicing, like, move this harmony up, whatever down. So like for groups that say, oh, well, it'd be so nice if I could have, custom charts. We just can't do that. That's my suggestion too. But so often I find that good groups will make whatever arrangements they have work for whatever soloists auditioned for them. Great groups do the opposite. And the feedback that I use is built into that. And so they have sung in front of each other by themselves, solo, all 12 members of the group, multiple times already. And it's the second day of school. And so their comfort level is pretty high. And even the younger new kids, their confidence is building. And you see it happen. A couple of them have gone, and their first outing, their first pitch wasn't so successful, right? And, that's tough, like, to watch that happen in real time. And then you have to go in and encourage them, like, no, you're good. Like, this is great. Like, let's talk about what worked. Let's talk about what might not have worked. It's not that you're not a good singer. It's that the key was too high, or it's that this style isn't good for you, whatever. And then they have another pitch and it's like a little warmer, a little closer. Sometimes I'll say, right restaurant, wrong dish on the menu, And so like, they learn a lot about the craft, the choices that they're making. And instead of what I think a lot of people's, like, students' choral experience is being told all of their decisions. Here's everything you need to do, right? Like, a lot of people, your director tells you, here's the songs we're singing, here's the part you're going to sing, here are the dynamics you're going to use, here's the phrasing that I want. Here, they make all the choices. And so for me, it's a matter of empowering them to understand why you would want to make certain musical choices yourself, and then actually being able to make them.
Yeah. One of the things I want to underline too is, you're talking about the song pitch method and, sending those stems to me as an arranger. A lot of groups sort of ask, like, how do we develop arrangements that sound very unique to us? Or like, how do we sort of develop our own sound? And a lot of that for me with you has been, you build the arrangement around the style of the soloist, right? And I'm not just doing that in a vacuum. I'm literally like building it around a stem that I have. I'm singing around, that lead vocalist thing. And whatever their style is, I kind of lean into that a little bit. And you and I will have discussions about what we kind of want the overall style and the feel of the year to be. But that's a huge part of developing a unique sound is building the arrangement around the soloist that you have. I think that's something that a lot of groups don't do. And it's a really great way to kind of go from good to great, to bring it back to the original question. That's a really great way to advance that.
And that's also how bands do it. I don't know how many times you've seen like bios of bands, and that's what we did in the House Shacks. Like, everybody's written these songs, sit down for each other, play the songs. Okay, this one, like, it works, but maybe you're not the right guy for the solo. But then, or like, what if you change the tempo? And there's that conversation back and forth that has to happen. And the thing that all singers need to learn pretty quickly is that your voice and your product, the things you create, are not you. That's the hardest thing with a cappella, I think. And you hit the nail on the head when you said, JD, like, if it's a warm, loving loving environment, people feel that sense of connection and safety, then they're able to tease the two apart. Otherwise, it's very different from like playing a piano. Oh, you got that part wrong. Oh, okay. You sang those notes wrong, but that's me. You're insulting me. You're questioning my value. And that's tough with young, fragile singers. Yeah.
That was the wrong song, and you're ugly too.
I say stuff like that to my kids, particularly my middle schoolers, because I say, quite frankly, I think y'all are the most brave of all the musicians. We've got our band, we've got our orchestra, but they have an inanimate object in front of them. So if they mess up or they're, it's like there's separation there. But when we sing, we're sharing a piece of ourselves with the world. And that's why criticism can hurt a lot more, is because, I just shared a little bit of my soul with you and you said you didn't like it. Like, it's so hard. And my kids joke around, but I have a little thing. I say, I'll be like, if I give them a piece of criticism, I'll be like, but I still love you. And they're like, ah, ha, ha, ha. But it's just like that reminder of, you're still a good person. I'm not saying, it's like, a lot of us are parents on here too. And it's like, I still love you. We just have to fix this. So, yeah.
I'm disappointed in the key you chose.
Well, I'm disappointed in the style, however.
We were talking about video games and everything before, and that sense of like the digital feedback, but video games are designed so that you mostly win and you get all this positive feedback, and the arts don't work that way. And it is really important to, it's not losing, it's learning. Failure is actually an essential part of the process, but I don't know that it feels that way for middle schoolers now, particularly because, I know, having raised a bunch of kids in the current environment, kids, when I was young, like, you did whatever, and like, I'm in this because I like it. It doesn't matter, I'm not that great or whatever. Now it's like I go into soccer and it's like I'm a soccer player and I have to be good, and then good ones who aren't good, they better get out of the way. And so people like narrow their focus way too young and way too much. And so I think it's so important to cast that wide net, get so many kids into the programs because it's so beneficial and helpful to them.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting TikTok a week ago, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the creator, but they were talking about the cringe effect with this generation. They're so afraid to be quote unquote cringy. And so it's preventing them from taking a step out because they're so used to being filmed and being on camera and all this stuff with social media, that there's just this deep self-awareness that I don't think it didn't exist. I was definitely self-aware when I was 13, but not like these kids are. Yeah. And so they're just so afraid of doing anything that's going to get made fun of. Like, we do a school talent show at the end of the year, and I have to beg kids, like, come on, you can do this. And like, because they're so afraid of what their peers are going to say about them. And unfortunately, it's the worst I have seen it. I don't know if it's a post-COVID thing, or, we can get into social media stuff too, but, so that has been really beautiful too with a cappella, is giving this art form, giving these kids a sense of self-worth, and that what they're doing is actually very cool and they look cool doing it.
Yeah. Well, there's a beautiful Ira Glass little speech that's been kind of animated online. If you haven't seen this, we should tag it, Rob, when we post this, or put it in the notes or whatever. Basically, he says, the thing I wish I knew when I was just starting out to be creative, and it took me longer than anybody, I was really slow, is that your taste is up here. That's what gets you in the game, right? But your ability to create is down here, and the stuff you start creating is mediocre. It's not great, and you can tell the difference. And he says, the thing that I wish young creative people knew is that there's no way out other than through. You have to go through the process, and you have to create a lot of art. You have to do it over and over again, and then your ability starts to get up to where your taste is. And bam, then things are really going. And there's a Billy Joel bio on now, and Elton John, Randy Newman, these great singer-songwriters, they would sit down and force themselves to write a song like you would at a job. It's Monday morning, 9 a.m. Here's my cup of coffee, sit at the piano. I'm not getting up until I write a song. And then, Ed Sheeran's Shape of You, right? Like he wrote that in 30 minutes in the studio. It's maybe his biggest hit. But he couldn't have written that song if he hadn't written 213 songs beforehand. So this is the thing that young people need to learn, is to persist, to keep going. And that's where you educators are so essential in their lives, to create that loving environment where they realize, yeah, good job, really important. Now go back and do it again. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah. And it's okay that it's not the best possible thing every time. Like, it's not going to be at the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be.
It's not, it can't be by definition.
No.
Yeah.
You're in middle school. You don't know anything. Like, they don't want to know that, but then, come on, let's be realistic.
Here's a question for y'all. So I think this would be an interesting kind of way to look at this with this particular panel of folks. What's grinding your gears these days about acapella in the choral world? What really grinds your gears? What do we need to? What do we want people to know? What are the things that are annoying? What are the things that are challenging? Because we all are really very entrenched in the choral side of things and kind of bringing that acapella thing into the choral space. What are some things that we can tell those folks? And I don't know, what's annoying you these days? What's bugging you? What's on your mind? Little JD, go.
Okay. The idea that singing pop and singing belt and singing with this style is lesser than bel canto singing. And I think that's something like Rob and I, we've done a presentation at National ACDA about it. I'm going to present at Southern ACDA about it in the spring. But like a lot of it is just that it's a different tradition. It's a different singing style. And a lot of choral directors are not taught anything except for bel canto singing. And I mean, I was literally told multiple times by respected people in the choral community who are mentors that like it's not only is the singing style not as good, it's actually could be unhealthy and bad, and people, students should not belt, they should not sing this kind of stuff, and that even that the music itself, pop music, is not as substantial as music from the canon, music that is art music. I'm putting all these things, put quotes around it. And I think that the idea, like breaking those barriers, this is something I know is near and dear to every single person I'm looking at in this chat. Breaking down those barriers is so important because when you see something like Cindy's students singing Bridge Over Troubled Water, in the style that you sang it, with a lot of singing that was not bel canto, right? And you did other stuff too that was like that. But it moved choral directors. And every time that we can have moments like that in our profession, it moves the needle just a little bit. And that is so, so important. I'll never forget one voice sang, it was the first time there was a cappella on a normal ACDA concert. It was in 2016 Southern Division. And I was nervous, I was excited, all the feelings. And I had planned this very carefully. We go in and we like knock the socks off the room with a really loud, really in your face, up-tempo pop song, just like you would at a concert, right? I mean, I don't know about Deke, I've seen you a million different times with different groups and the house tracks, whatever else. You're not going to start a set with a new audience with a ballad. You're going to open up with something big. So we did.
Yeah.
Big belty solo. Yeah. No joke about, I looked around and like 40% of the room left. And I was really bummed. And then I looked around after the next song and it was full again with other people who were waiting outside who couldn't get seats. And they came back in. And we ended that concert with a Swingles arrangement, followed by a Sam Robson arrangement, a cappella off mic, just to show that, look, this is serious musicianship. This is real. This is real singing. This music has real value inherently in it. And so that's my gear grinding. And it's not like any one person is doing it or whatever, but it is something that is really important to me. And I think all of us in this chat, and something that I think we need to keep pushing against.
Yeah, it's an ethos in general. I was talking to somebody about this recently. I can't remember who, but we were talking about, the idea of like pop music being bad for you or whatever. And they were like, any kind of singing is bad for you if you do it wrong. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like you can hurt how we know tons of people that have hurt themselves doing bel canto, traditional choral, whatever. Like anything's bad if you do it the wrong way. Like there's just, and I think, in defense of some of these folks, like the technology that has allowed us to go into the voice, scoping people and like really, get into the science that has led to some of the developments around pop teaching pop and the pop pedagogy and stuff is pretty new. I mean, this style of singing is really, only as old as recordings. I mean, which is like, the last century or so, right? So it's like, it is a newer thing, but it's not that new anymore. So if you don't know about it, it's definitely good to get that information. I'm glad that there's more and more of that information out there. Kelsey, Cindy, what's grinding your gears? Do we have any gears that are grounded?
I guess I have some grounded gears. I don't know. So we're in the competition circuit of acapella.
Let's go. Talk about it.
Go.
Okay, here we go. Don't blackball us. So this last year's finals, I was really surprised at the amount of dancing that was in acapella sets. And I was confused because one of my joys of acapella is the vocal, right? Like, it's about the voices. And if you want dancing, be a show choir. And there's merit in that. So, I don't know. Competitions are, it's a subjective art form. Every judge there is going to have a different opinion on what they like and stuff. But that was like a very consistent thread I saw through every single group that was in the finals, except for us, which is what I think kind of helped us a little bit because we are just not a dancing program. JD did, he might remember this when he did a Zoom with Shades, and I think it was after our quarterfinals, and they were doing all this stuff with their hands and and afterwards I was like, after he said it, I was like, oh my god, that looked really bad. But
it's all you could see, right?
Yeah, and I realized that, and it was just like constant, and it totally took away from what they were doing vocally. So if hands are taking that much away from a vocal, when we're doing full on choreo that is so fast, I don't know. It's not for everyone. That's what people want to do. By all means, do it. But
I think it's like,
I don't like it.
I think the thing, where I fall on this is like, if it works for your group, that's great. But I think that the issue is that in competition, like everybody, and we've talked about this a million times in a million different ways, but everybody is trying to prep to the rubric, right? We're all teachers. We like a 100%. Rubric. You know what I mean? It's like, we want to pass the test, and it's like, that's just not how you make great music. And it's like, if you're dancing with your group, if you're doing a bunch of like crazy choreo because you think that you should, or you think that you have to in order to win, that's not the right reason to do it, right? If you have a group that are amazing dancers and can really move, and that's like a real part of what they're bringing to it, great, mazel tov, go, do your dancing. But if that's not your thing and you're trying to do it because you think you have to, I think that's where a lot of groups really, really go off the rails.
And I hate to say it, but I do think that's what was happening, is that maybe there is an idea out there that you do have to do that much movement in order to be set apart. But I hope also that if you look at a group like ours, they got second and they were not dancing. So it's possible to do everything really well. But I don't know. The dancing took me by surprise this year.
Every a cappella group should have to sign some version of the Hippocratic Oath. We'll name it. We'll call it the Deke Sharon Oath, right?
I've said this so many times.
I will do no harm with my dancing.
Harm. Yes.
Dancing cannot negatively impact the singing.
I say that.
If we're going to go with the rubric does say the choreo should enhance the vocal, not overpower the vocal. So
of course, and people teach to the test, and people definitely create their sets to the rubric, and if the category is just performance, there will be less movement, less actual choreography than if there's a movement category. I've seen it. I've judged so many competitions around the world, whatever, and you look at the sheet and you're like, okay, this is what we're doing now, right? Get ready for jazz hands because it's coming down the pike. Yeah. And competitions are an amazing way to build audiences, but I absolutely, and I'm responsible for a lot of them. So, but I absolutely hate when they end up becoming a driving force for a program and a creative decision-making force.
Yeah, that's the way people work, though. It was that way in the teens,
of course,
with college acapella, and I'll name no names, but everybody knows who we're talking about. Every college acapella group tried to sound like one other college acapella group. None of them had the vocal ability to do it, and that I mean, when you emulate, right, you end up doing things maybe less healthily or less organically. And the same thing I see happening now in the 2020s. Is that what we're in now? Where there are a couple groups, and one in particular, like they dance really well. They're like all dancers, and it's really impressive. And if you get in that arms race, you're gonna lose, right?
Yeah.
But not everybody should be doing those high flying things.
No, and just in case anybody's not clear, the Bard and Bellas were lip syncing to their own voices when we filmed Pitch Perfect. They couldn't in a million years. The first time I've ever seen anyone do the Bellas finale with actual great choreo was the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, and they killed it. But they're the only people I've ever seen do it right.
Is this an exclusive, Deke? Are you exclusively on this podcast letting everybody know that was not live singing?
That was not live singing, yeah.
I'm completely shocked. I had no idea.
I need to sit down.
I had no idea. And Das Sound Machine, by the way, only 4 of the 18 people in the group were actually even lip syncing to their own voices. It was myself and Ed Boyer or whatever singing Saving Not. You know, it's fun to sing held in tenor, a cappella. They were like dancer models. And they were literally, that's the main thing they did was dance, which is why Das Sound Machine won the second movie. But that's a different discussion to be had.
So basically, you're saying you ruined acapellas.
Well, so if anyone did, it's me.
It's all your fault.
My fault. I'll take it.
You did it.
I'll take it. Yeah.
That is why I hate dancing. No.
Cindy, you unmuted a minute ago. Did you want to jump on the dancing discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny that you mentioned the Bridge Over Troubled Water. The first thing, you know, we had spring break right after we get back to school, and the kids, you know, we still had a spring concert to work toward, and it was a movie theme. And the girls, I'm like, okay, what do you want to do for the show? I love the spring concert because they do everything. They produce it, they do the costuming, they do they choose their lighting. I want them to feel very involved in the last show of the year. And they say, we want to do Pitch Perfect, and we're going to do the Bard and Bella set, and we're going to do, and this is like, they were just singing the Gustav Holst, you know, Ave Maria.
Sure.
The week before, and then they were ready for Bard and Bellas. And it's funny because their name is Bella Armonia. So they were Bella for the next the remainder of the year. Yeah. And I think I agree, you know, movement. I have judged some of the a cappella competitions, you know, when they host them here in Miami or Orlando. And I do agree that movement, I'm with Kelsey, and that movement sometimes just negatively impacts the intonation, the rhythmic precision. It just they're doing it just to do it. And I think that's when you should not do it at all. I'd rather listen to a group sing accurately and passionately and coming from a place of intention without moving a muscle than seeing them move just to move and then having it sound really, you know, awkward and they even look uncomfortable sometimes, and it's like forcing it. So yeah, as long as it doesn't affect, we're singers. I mean, yes, we're musicians. I tell my students, you're a singer, but a singer is a musician. You still have to play accurately. Like a musician, a violinist has to play their part. You have to sing yours. You're a musician. So the moment it affects in a negative way, I remove it. I tell my kids, oh, you want to choreograph, you want to choreograph this tune, then make it sound amazing. Let me add the choreo. If it starts sounding bad, I'm taking it away. And maybe that's too drastic, but it's just the way I am. I have to have them sound singing wise as best, you know, as they can. And if it's ruining your potential and your ability, you know, if it's getting in the way, then I remove it. And they're okay with that. They're like, you know what, you're right. We sound better without it. And that's the thing, that they have to be able to acknowledge that. And we all work together in making the performance as best as it can be. And I think sometimes, you know, choir, especially people that are not very trained in a cappella music, and the pops especially, it may be intimidating or scary. They're not trained in it, but hey, you were trained for a few years to get an undergrad. Maybe you took voice lessons. Maybe you have to invest because your students are so into it. I think it's important for choir directors to invest in the music that their kids love. And I feel like if you do that as a choir director, whether you were trained in it or not, you can start training today. It's okay. In 4 years, you'll be more familiar. You did the homework. You will they will be more invested in what you have to say. Then I can go to them and say, hey, let's do Gustav Holst, a song from the year 1900, and then do the Barden Bellas at the next concert. And they should be able to accurately respect after you do the homework and you do the listening. I do a lot of running. So in my playlist, it'll be the craziest thing. It'll be like Beethoven, followed by Beyonce, followed by like the randomest stuff you can throw in. And I think that all inspires what you see from my students, which is just, you have to respect the styles. And if you can't do that, don't do it, which is what ends up happening. I'm just here to encourage you to do the homework and do the listening and have your students listen and have your students create playlists for you and say, hey, I've never heard that artist. Who are you listening to nowadays? And have them do for an assignment, because they all love their grades. For a grade, make me a playlist. Like, what should I listen to on my next run? And they introduce me to artists. They introduce me to songs. I introduce them to songs. And it's this cycle of us making each other better forever. Like somebody mentioned earlier, it shouldn't be just me telling them. The moment it's just you telling them what to do, what to sing, what to move, how to move. It's a family. We bring each other up and we're together when we're down. And it's that relationship of we're all respecting the style of a cappella. Sometimes I will throw in some a cappella concepts in a style that's not a cappella, and teach them about a cappella, pop a cappella singing in a different style, because they get how to do that. And when the program started, I almost hand selected the top kids. It's a respected thing in my program to be in that a cappella group. It's not like, oh no, that kid just has a great voice, so they're in the a cappella group. No, that kid can really sight read. They respect all the art form of singing. They put in the work. They do all they have to do. They do their listening, and they're inspiring each other to just be part of, like I said earlier, like be part of something great, no matter the style. And just investing in what they're listening to, I think will aid and help in building the program overall, not just in one style. So don't be afraid. Do the homework. I am here. We are here to stay. It is possible. And let me tell you, when I met Rob 10 years ago, I was not at all, I loved pentatonics, and that was about it. That was my experience with a cappella music. I love Take Six and pentatonics and a cappella singing, but I had no idea how to do anything. And year after year, I can say now 10 years later, people would look at me and say, oh, you know what you're doing. I'm like, no, I'm just learning from my kids. They love pop music, and we're just doing it because, we all love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I think we're actually just about out of time. I think that's a really wonderful note to go out on. I think that that's a perfect summation of the whole thing.
I will have to do another podcast on this, because I still haven't figured out which emotion is best exemplified by groups of singers walking in opposing concentric circles. But we'll save that.
It's a mystery for another time. It's a mystery for another time.
It's usually a build to a power moment.
How do we turn up the emotion on this, like loneliness and disconnection? Or Fish Roundabout. It's one of the two.
We'll do a separate episode on choreography. That'll be
there. We go. Oh, that'd be
we'll get to the bottom of it.
Done. I love it.
It's actually a huge thing. Stepping away from the a cappella world for a second. You see choirs sometimes they move. Like my choirs, I love movement. I love in a song. It doesn't have to be choreographed. I just say be you, and the performance automatically elevates because they can be themselves. And it's just a thing. Like some choirs will sing without moving at all, and some choirs will move. And it's just whatever works for your choir, whatever makes them have the most fun and be in the moment and just sing to inspire.
Amazing.
That's right.
Y'all, thank you so much for being here. This is a wonderful panel. Some really great stuff.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you to everybody that came and the questions from the audience. We hope to see you next time. And keep on doing the teaching thing. Happy back to school. Hope by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably be solidly back to school. So hope your year's off to a great start.
Because I'm exhausted.
And to every single educator out there, I want to say on behalf of Rob and myself and every person in acapella, thank you. You're on the front lines. Mm-hmm. You are changing people's lives, these young people who come to you, and just know that the impressions they have, the experiences they have, in your room when you're working with them as educators, you're not just teaching them intellectual things, you're giving them an emotional education, you're giving them a social education. And when they come and bug you and they all sit together in the choir room because that's where they feel comfortable at lunchtime and this is their sense of home, and they come back 10 years later and that's the first place they go, these are testaments to the enormous amount of important impact you're having on who they are, and then what they're able to give the world and how they're able to benefit society as a result of it. So if you're an educator and you're out there listening to this, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You are making an enormous difference in human society.
Well said. All right. Have a great school year, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye.